the 2008 crisis,
Yeah.
and you're on the front lines in a lot of different ways. You hold a bunch of different titles, but I guess when you're going through it, it's like another day of work. But when you look back on it now,
different day. But yeah.
But when you look back on it now, I mean, Goldman's one of the firms that comes out best as a result of surviving the crisis, and you're a big part of the reason why. And I think everybody acknowledges that. But what are some of your reflections from that period of time?
Well, when you think about, so I was at the Federal Reserve the weekend that there were a handful of us that were at the Federal Reserve the weekend that Lehman Brothers went out of business. And, you can reflect on a lot of things, a lot of pride in the way that Goldman Sachs came together. My co-heads came together. We were running, the largest portion, the most dynamic portion of Goldman Sachs. It's really where the epicenter of activity was, the entire trading environment across equities, commodities, and fixed income. In 2009, to that point in time, was the firm's most profitable year coming out of the crisis. But I think in terms of most memorable components, I would say you have to be really connected to the vulnerability of the financial system and truly how close we came as a economic society and as a society to kind of losing control of it.
Yeah.
And really reflecting back on it, what are the things about systemic risk, connectivity, leverage that really contributed to that? Because obviously 2008 happens because you have 10, 15, 20 years of built up. And I think when I think about it, the lessons I learned from a risk perspective are many. But there was a lot in there for all of us that have responsibility for financial institutions and politicians and regulators. But a lot of it brought us there. But I think understanding, again, the vulnerability, it goes back to what we were talking about before the show. Like I had my 1987 moment. You had your moment after you got started. These moments are incredible points for all of us to pause and say, hey, what brought us here? We have the best capital markets in the world in the United States.
Right.
Not perfect. I don't think we should try and make them perfect. Try and make them perfect. We have a zero defect policy. Well, then you don't get growth. But at each one of these inflection points, 87, 94, 98, 2000, 2008, what do we learn from the pandemic? All these things. These are really, really important moments in time for us all to learn as individuals, professionals, and obviously more broadly across the whole system.